Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey ladies, welcome back to Somebody Come Listen to This podcast. This is your host, Nava, and if you can tell, I am just now waking up, and I just had this topic on my mind, so I decided to jump on and do a quick little video real quick. It is the topic of decentering men. A lot of women are doing this. A lot of women are figuring out how to do it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that women hate men. A lot of people seem to think that just because, I'm going to use myself for an example. Just because I make content like this, a lot of people will assume that I just hate men. I've had women in my life tell me that. And I've actually had women stop talking to me because they think I hate men, and they just don't understand it because I'm married. And actually, there are married women who are making decenter men content and telling other women how to decenter men, even if you are in a relationship. Some ways that I have decentered men is just doing what I want. Like a lot of you may remember when I told you that I want to learn Spanish, so I'm taking Spanish classes. My husband did not want me to take a Spanish class because he doesn't see what good it would do me, because it's not going to earn me any money right away. But this is something that I wanted to do since I was in high school for myself. You know, I'm 41 years old now, and this is just not something that I'm doing for other people. I'm doing this specifically for me. He wanted me to start my own business or, do something of that sort. And that's not what I wanted to do right now. I wanted to focus on bettering myself. So that's one thing I did to center myself and not center what he wanted me to do. And I'm going to continue to do that. I don't know. I don't do a lot of stuff to center men at all. I don't do anything to center men, actually. I can't think of one thing I do to center men. And it's crazy, I know, because most married women, that's all they do. They cook, they clean, they do family things, they do Christmas. I don't celebrate holidays. I actually even told him he doesn't have to buy me anything for holidays, Christmas, birthdays, Valentine's. And he actually did on his own, because that's something that he's big on doing. I'm actually not the one that's big on, gift giving and holidays and doing stuff like that with family. So I actually spend the holidays by myself, and he spends it with his family. I did not want him buying me anything. So I don't know. I don't know if that's considered part of decentering men, not expecting anything from them. But I'm the type, I don't expect anything from anybody, and as I get older, I'm learning to just, I don't know, I don't expect much out of people at all. The older I get, I don't expect women to like my content. I don't expect most women to like my content. I see that most women don't like my content. So that's why I'm really weary about sharing my content with people that I know in my everyday life, or people that I get to know, because I know a lot of women are not going to agree with what I post or what I say, because we've been living in this society so long that just teaches women to just go hard for men, no matter if they like men or not, or if they're with men, if they've been done wrong by several men or all the men that they've come into contact with. And at my age, I understand that, because it is crazy to hear somebody like me that is married with 2 sons making the content that I do. But let's go ahead and get into these women and why they decided to decenter men, and how they decenter men, and even their husbands, not just boyfriends, but adults in their family, just anybody. So I'll be back after this.
I saw a video the other day on here. I'm gonna tag it below if I can find it. But it was basically this woman expressing how this whole movement to like decenter men is making some women feel isolated and making them feel guilty and ashamed when they are in less than perfect relationships. She was basically saying like, why do I have to be made to feel bad for the fact that I just wanted to fall in love? Why can't I continue to receive support from my friends that I don't listen to? And I've been looking for the words to answer that question. I haven't been able to quite find it, but I saw a tweet today that made it click in my head. Go with me here. The tweet was a screenshot submitted by a man to an advice column type of thing, I think. I should have screenshot it, but I forgot. I'm sorry. But basically, in the screenshot, he was saying that he has a wife who's 8 months pregnant, and for her whole pregnancy, she has not had any pregnancy craving. Or so he thought. Turns out she has had pregnancy cravings. Obviously, she's pregnant. She's just been paying their neighbor to help her with these cravings when the time comes, instead of going to her husband who she got pregnant by. Then he also was saying that she didn't have morning sickness for this whole 8 months, or so he thought. She did have morning sickness. She just didn't feel comfortable telling him about it, so she was going to her sister and her mom and talking to them about it, instead of the man who impregnated her, whom she is married to. So he confronted her about it, and she basically said that at some point, like prior to her pregnancy, he expressed to her that women who complain about things like that are whining. So she didn't want to be a whiner. So now she doesn't emotionally depend on him for things like that because she doesn't want to make him feel bad. So instead of going to your husband who put this baby in you, who you're supposed to be able to go to about anything, you're depending on neighbors and your friends and your family for things that he should be dealing with. And that is why we are so adamant about holding women accountable for the decisions that you make in your romantic decisions. That's why. Because when you start dealing with this man and we all sit around and tell you, hey, these are some red flags you're ignoring. I don't think that this is a good idea. Maybe you should end this. You don't want to listen because you're so insistent on falling in love, which is okay. But if we're all telling you this is not the man to fall in love with and you don't listen to us, what happens when he inevitably proves us right? Now we are the ones who have to give our resources, both physically and emotionally, to pick up the pieces that he broke because you didn't want to listen. And as your friends, as your family, as your community, we're going to do it because we love you, but we have a right to express that this is not really cool and to say that you should be held accountable for that because this is your decision. It reminds me of a friend I had like 2 years ago. She was messing with this dude who she had no business messing with. I told her that. She didn't want to listen. They weren't in an official relationship. They were doing everything that people in a relationship do. So I guess it was some sort of situationship. I don't know. They worked together. One Saturday night, all three of us went out. We were out all night. She and I stay in one city. He stays 45 minutes to an hour away. After we went out, I went home. I thought we were going home together. She went to his house. I said, okay, cool. The next morning, she had to work at 7 a.m. and she's blowing my phone up, talking about she left her work badge and her like key to get into the building at his house. She left them at his house and she's calling me, who's an hour away, asking me, can I go to his house to go bring it to her? I said, why are you not asking that man who you're giving free coochie to? She's like, oh, he's busy. He can't do it today. What is he doing? You ask? It was his day off. He was sitting at the house. Yeah, you did. You heard that correctly. She left her work things at his house. They have the same job. He goes to that job the same time that she goes to that job. He just happened to be off that day and living 5 minutes away. He didn't even want to bring her the stuff that she forgot that she needed to get into her job. So you're calling me, who was out just as long as you were, but lives an hour away, and you want me to do it. Then when she got off work later that night, she needed a ride home, and who was she calling? Me, instead of that man who had you out there, who lives 5 minutes away. And me being a good friend, of course I went and got her, but I'm gonna tell you, you should not have to be calling me for these type of things if you got a man. If you're giving a piece of yourself to that man and he can't even get up on his day off to drive 5 minutes down the road and make sure that you can get into your job, something is wrong. That's the type of stuff that we're talking about. That is why we are so adamant about holding women accountable, because this does not just affect you, because you're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to get with this man that everyone told you not to get with. And when he shows you exactly why you should have left him alone, when he abandons you, when he leaves you, when he does you wrong, you're going to be looking at us and you're going to want some of my money. You're going to want some of my resources. You're going to want me to stay up all night on the phone listening to you cry about this man that we all told you not to be with. You have a right to do what you want to do, but as your friends, we have a right to have a problem with it. I know being held accountable sucks, and I know that it hurts to be on the side where you just want to fall in love and you don't understand why nobody can see what you see in this man. Yes, that hurts, but there's no other way to do it. I mean, I don't know what you want.
Normalize that people also have this.
We can and we should, because it's coming for us all. This woman posted talking about the fact that at 38, she already has forehead lines. And when she looks around at other people, she notices that many of them don't have those same pronounced lines. In the comments, people absolutely flamed her. This woman's lines triggered a lot of women. And the reason for that is because we've been conditioned to fear aging. And the reason for that is because aging means that we have less proximity to men, less desirability to men. And we've been taught that the more attractive we are to men, the more valuable we are. Centering men comes at our own disadvantage because then we're afraid of ourselves and our natural body processes. So what can we do about it? We can embrace each other and stop treating desirability or attractiveness as a currency. The other thing is, if we keep on centering men in our aging journeys and we keep on throwing hate at women like this woman who made the video, then every time we see our own faces, we start to hate parts of it. I'm also getting lines. Even if my lines and her lines aren't the same lines, it doesn't matter, because if you notice any line at all, you'll start to hate it. And that's not fair. We deserve to feel love when we look in the mirror. The only thing stopping us from seeing love when we see other women and also when we see ourselves is the centering of men. We are the world makers. We literally give birth to all the people who you see walking around here. How the fuck are you gonna try to shame another woman for having a goddamn face wrinkle? We deserve to feel like the goddesses that we are. When we support each other, it's so much easier to create that reality. Come on, babes. Come on.
Today's lesson is how to decenter men and stop craving male validation. You need to find hobbies that don't have to do with men. If you don't have any hobbies, then the only real thing going on for you that's outside of the normal is your relationship. Next is make a to-do list every single day that doesn't have to do with men. Wake up, you get on a dating app, you text men, swiping on a dating app to texting these men, and then you call them and you're on FaceTime with them all day. You're always with them. Anytime they want you to pull up, you're pulling up. Texting them all day will not be a fucking option because you're gonna cut that out by only doing things that you have to do on your to-do list. Obviously, keep yourself so busy that you don't have time to think about them. This one works wonders. You don't have to act like, oh, I'm gonna ignore his text for 3 hours, because girl, you're already not gonna respond for those 3 hours because you're gonna be doing things to level up yourself. And then slowly but surely, you will start to get used to their presence not being there all the time. It'll become a normal thing for you not to call them and not to text them. You'll realize how much happier you are to not constantly being like, how can I cater to the male gaze? How can I make him think that I'm this amazing person? Because you'll just be living your life. You won't be asking yourself, why hasn't he called me back yet? You'll be so busy to the point where you won't even notice that he hasn't texted you. And that is how you start to decenter them from your life, by just doing you. Delete the dating apps. I'm not playing with you. Delete the dating apps, girl. Having dating apps just proves that these random men that you don't even know still have access to you. You need to make it clear to yourself you're not accessible without commitment. And dating apps, girl, there's no commitment coming out of dating apps, especially Tinder. Go ahead and stop checking your social media, DMs, messages, notifications. These are men that you've never met, you don't see them, and yet you're wondering who's liking your stuff. You're wondering who's in your DMs. If you're checking your DMs specifically to text men, ooh, this next one, girl, do not Snapchat a man. Do not Snapchat a man. Do not Snapchat absolutely no exceptions. I didn't care about a man, then I would choose to snap him. Just think about that. Like, as a man, why would he choose to snap you over just texting you regularly? When a man asks me for my Snapchat, I immediately am like, get far away from me. Last one is, you do not have to hate men in order to prioritize yourself in your life before theirs. Just keep your distance. I'm not saying act like men don't exist and stop dating and stop. No, like absolutely not. I'm just saying you need to always put yourself first. The moment that you put a man before you is the moment that you make men the center of your life. That's a no-no. They should be centering you, honey. I'll let you guys screenshot this for future use so that you never forget. All right, dolls, good luck.
Take it from somebody that has lived it and learned it the hard way, so you do not have to. You need to decenter men. If you are a woman living in this modern day and age, I don't care if it's your husband, your boyfriend, somebody you're dating, decenter men. Meaning, focus on yourself, invest in yourself, your nails, your hair, going to the gym, still going out with your girlfriends, hobbies, whatever it is that makes you happy. Do not rely on a man for your happiness, because this will turn into you texting, calling him first, you chasing him like the little golden retriever, and you need to be the black cat. A man is a natural born hunter. They like a chase. And if you are always the one initiating dates, initiating calls, texts all day long, you're probably nagging him, trying to micromanage him because you are unhappy because you are not filling your own cup.
You know that guy that's going viral around suggesting that some women are going to have to settle? What I'm also realizing is a lot of women have been thinking about marrying other women, just on some romanticizing the friendship, like a life partner, someone that can carry their weight, even if they wanted to have kids. And they can like link up and have their physical needs met in other way if they don't choose to scissor amongst themselves. So anyway, women are doing well. And what's also interesting is that the matriarchy is rising, evident by the women that are choosing to maintain the power and their personal growth through partnerships that are better aligned with them. And as a result, they're considering marrying amongst themselves. And technically, there is a tradition within Africa where it's matrilineal and also matriarchal, and the women marry other women to maintain the wealth and the power dynamic. So I say this all to say, I love this for us because settle.
Is it possible to decenter men if I'm in a relationship or married? In my experience, I say yes. And it's simply because decentering men or males just simply means you will no longer self-sacrifice. And this is not to say that your family is not as important as your self-healing and self-love journey is, but the point is we will no longer allow our partners to be the center of our world. If your relationship has always been about you decentering yourself, it will not be easy to make this transition. It will be hard. He or she, they, them may not like it. And you even may have a hard time saying no. And I would highly recommend working with your therapist and or counselor to make this transition if you do not feel well equipped to do so. It doesn't have to be everything all at once, but it just simply means that you will no longer abandon your own well-being. And it also will require a deep and heartfelt conversation with your spouse. Let them know what you need. Be very honest. Be very candid. It's absolutely possible, and it's especially possible if it's done from the beginning. But if you've already been in this relationship for a period of time, there's always room for growth. And if you cannot grow in a relationship, then maybe that relationship can no longer serve you at your fullest, highest self.
Two things I've learned after going broke, being homeless, living with the guy that I thought was going to be my husband and having him kick me out with nowhere to go, having deadbeat friends and deadbeat family members, is that as a woman, you should always have your own. Have your own place, have your own money, have your own everything. So even if one day I decide to get married, I will still always have my own apartment or my own condo, my own penthouse or my own house somewhere, okay? Even if we are married, you have your place, I have my place. We can still have multiple properties together, but I would never, ever, ever, ever put my life and leave my life and my future in the hands of a man, no matter how good he is. Because people change when they're no longer getting the things that they want. And I don't hate men. I actually love men. I enjoy men, but the good men, the men that are worth it. And 90% of the men on the internet are horrible. You guys are bitter. You guys are broke. You spend all day on the internet. I'm in New York City where people like to honk, if you can hear. Don't get me wrong. I'm still broke myself, but I learned about stocks. I learned about investing my money. I learned about saving. I learned about different grants and loans and funding and all these business things that I've never learned before because I was homeless at one point, and I would never ever let that happen again. So now I'm learning everything I have to do in order to take care of myself forever. Fucking New York. And did you know women are the ones who are buying up all the property and real estate right now? Women. So I don't think I need to be afraid about finding a man to fund my life. I need to fund my life for myself and when that person comes along, he can join me. I'm perfectly fine. But I would never give up anything that I own that's in my name ever for a person. Don't mind my hair. I just got off of work because I got to take care of myself. No matter if my guy has money or not, no matter what. I have a business that I started, actually 2 businesses, and I still get up and go to work because multiple streams of income is what's going to set you free. Ooh, this building's cute. Look at this. Look how pretty this is. I bet the guy who wrote this comment would never ever be in the presence of this building. Shoulda love. I forgot to mention one thing. I moved to New York City with a carry-on suitcase and a one-way ticket from Delta. I have my own place, okay? It's the first time I've ever had my own place ever in my life. And this was one of my bucket lists, and I did it, and I accomplished a goal. So the sky's not the limit. Just so you know that women accomplish and achieve their goals all the time. We just don't brag about it. We don't have to brag about it. So that was one of my proudest moments.
Decentering men is not about not interacting with men. It's more about managing your expectations with men. It's about realizing that most of the men you interact with are not going to be that guy. And if he's giving unserious energy, just simply match the energy and get what you can get out of the situation and enjoy yourself. Separate yourself from the outcome of this man, because the outcome for you is irrelevant. The only way the outcome becomes relevant is if he makes it relevant. I'm going to give you an example. You can have consensual, safe relations with men and take them unseriously because that's how he's acting. But if this man behaves differently, then you can move him out of that unserious category and into a considerate category. That's what it means. Just manage your expectations around these.
I just wanted to stop right here just to say that if you are still interacting with men or dating men in any way, you do need to be extra careful because we see what's going on in the world. And I see a lot of women out here are still wanting to play these reindeer games with them, and aren't getting serious enough about their lives. A lot of these men are out here dating because they want to find somebody that they can have and own and that belongs to them and them only, which makes it very dangerous for women out here in the dating game. And from what I'm seeing, women are not alert and aware enough to know just how dangerous it is for them to be out here still playing this dating game. And even married women, if you're still wanting to get married and you're in a marriage already, I don't see married women or women wanting to get married taking their lives serious enough as far as like having their own separate finances, as far as not being gullible and not being one of those women that would be like, my husband would never, my husband could never. And even with your sons, if your sons are older, my son would never do that. And there's so many of these sons that are out here like just taking their mothers out. So many of these husbands are just taking their wives out if they, commit adultery and don't want their wives to find out, or if their side chick threatens to tell their wife. That's why, decentering men is more than just putting yourself first. To me, it's being highly alert and highly aware of the things that could, and a lot of the times the things that do go wrong in any type of relationship you're in when you are dealing with men. Just be wise. Don't be gullible. Don't never say never. And that's all. Let's get back to the rest of the videos.
intellectualize yourself out of the human desire to be loved. And that's why I think this entire like decenter men, get hobbies instead of dating, it's all BS. And it's coming from people who are too embarrassed to admit how lonely they are out of some like shame they feel for perpetual loneliness. I will explain. All over my For You page, and especially my Twitter, over the past like 2 weeks, people have been discussing this topic, which granted is a reoccurring topic, that like you need to decenter men. That phrase should exclusively apply to not teaching girls that the best thing they can do in life is become a wife and mother, in terms of like, don't center your life around being an accessory to a man's dream. Right? Like, you should have your own personhood. What it does not refer to, and what I think it's very detrimental to tell single people that it refers to, is this idea that, like, you shouldn't prioritize, like, romantic love, right? Human civilizations across time, almost every civilization has prioritized familial love, platonic love, like the love between your friends, and romantic love. It's the stuff that makes up our fairy tales. It inspires our hopes and dreams. We are wired to want these things. Humans are social creatures. We're meant to live in community with one another. We're programmed to love and to be loved. And pretending like you can just watch these TikToks or like read a couple of books out of this human desire is nuts. And it doesn't even apply when you look at the ways we treat the enduring grief that comes with not having the 2 other types of love besides romantic, right? Because if I say, like, I don't have a family, my parents are dead, I don't have siblings, or I don't have a good family, I don't have contact with them, people recognize that that is enduring grief that I will experience for the rest of my life. We acknowledge it on Mother's Day, Father's Day, the holiday season. We hold space to listen to the stories of those who are hurting, even those who have found family. Just this idea that, like, there is something so painful about not having anyone who's related to you or the people who raised you. Similarly, we hold space for people who don't have any friends. People talk about how traumatic and genuinely heartbreaking it was to not have friends in primary school. It's something that still like tinges when they're an adult. And then when people discuss how lonely they are because they don't have romantic love, then it's suddenly like, oh, you're so desperate. Oh, you need to get over that. You just need to get a hobby. Frankly, you should stop trying to pursue it. And it's like, why? And I never realized how hypocritical and cruel we were being to single people until I got into my current relationship. And like, I know that I'm going to marry my boyfriend. This is the best relationship that I've ever been in. I'm genuinely really happy. And it made me realize, like, so much of the advice that we give to single people is just absolute bullshit. Telling people that a healthy, happy relationship is not something to want feels crazy, because if you are watching this right now and you are in a happy, healthy relationship, you know damn well that it's better than being single. Even the best times that I had being single, because there's something about being fulfilled romantically. And it's not something that can be made up for with my friends or my family, even though I have very strong friends and family relationships. It's just not the same. And that's fine. Why do we meet people with such disdain when they say they're lonely, especially knowing the onus we put on women, especially to get partnered? This advice is never coming from people who are like, either really happy with being single or who are in happy, healthy relationships. It's coming from people who are fighting back the tears when they're making these videos or giving out this advice like, well, actually, I'm fine with my state and you need to be too, because I don't want to hear anybody else talking about it. Like, that's very much the energy that it gives. And I'll end it on this note. There is a particularly disingenuous way that we talk about people who have been affected by the lack of romantic love when they acknowledge that it's because they don't meet the beauty standard, right? Like, yes, everybody is beautiful, but we know that some people just, they meet a specific beauty standard, and the people who don't, you have a harder time dating. Why are you making them feel bad for saying that? A girl got on my For You page and she was talking about the fact, she was a heavy girl, she was talking about the fact that her weight made boys not like her. I've never been fat, but I know that that's true because I see how people treat other fat people. And the comments were gaslighting her. They were like, no, like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Like, you know damn well. It feels so mean, especially if you're a person who's like always gotten romantic connections or you've always been desired romantically, to tell a person who's never had that, who's like on the internet crying or in real life crying, like, I wish this happened to me, and be like, it's actually not that great. Like, you don't need it. Like, that's like looking at a starving person and then eating a hamburger and knowing that your entire life you've just like binged out of the most decadent foods and being like, the food's actually not that good. Like, you're fine. You don't need this. Anyway, the post-gym glow is like so
Some of you seem to be confused about what decentering men actually means, so allow me to explain it to you. You can be in a relationship and still decenter men. You can be married and still decenter men. You can be celibate, you can be actively dating and still have men decentered in your life. What this phrase means is that you have established a life outside of the approval and the desire of men. So how do you know if you're doing that? Here are a few questions that you can ask yourself. First, if I did not care about looking attractive or looking sexy to the opposite sex, what would I actually like to wear? What makes me feel comfortable? How do I want to show up in the world? If I did not get married, how could I create the best and most abundant life for myself? What would that look like? Am I actively creating that life now? And lastly, what hobbies or interests do I have that don't involve being around men or have male attention as a component of it? That's all it is. I don't know where the narrative came from that suggested that decentering men equated to hating men. That is not the case. We've seen now that so many women get into these relationships with men, and when the relationship ends, they don't even know who they are or what they enjoy doing. We are no longer losing ourselves in relationships because we don't have.
I think people get about decentering men. It's very simply the ability to plan a life without the consideration of. That's it. And you actually do it all of the time. So for instance, for me, I decided I'm not going to have kids. Now, whenever I make plans in my life, I don't have a little voice in the back of my head going like, oh, but like, what about if you don't meet someone in time to have kids? That was a consideration I had. I had a really weird anxiety about turning 35 and being a geriatric mother and, all these things about running out of time because it was a consideration until it wasn't. Once it stopped being a viable option for me, all of a sudden, my choices opened up. So that's what decentering men is. It's being able to create and craft a life where you are not worried about the dating pool, right? Where the little voice in the back of your head isn't like, oh, hey, time's running out. No one's going to want you if you're 35, 45, 55, whatever. So, yeah.
So I really, really agree with this lady. I think a big part of decentering men is really just doing things in spite of whether or not you have a boyfriend or a man or a husband or whatever you have. Like, for example, like I'm 41. I don't want to work until I'm 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, dead. I want to retire early. I want to retire by at least 45. I'm not rich. I don't have the best job. But if I want to do that and the person I'm with doesn't even think about that, or you have no conversations about retirement, I know that I'm going to have to do what I need to do for me to make that happen for me, because that's what I want, because I'm centering myself, not because I hate anybody. It's because this is what I want for myself. I cannot see myself being an old lady and not being able to enjoy at least 30 years of my life without working. So I have a plan to retire, not here in America, but somewhere where I can retire early and not have to work like a dog for the rest of my life. So I'm not working like a dog now, and I don't want to have to work like a dog. So therefore, I will come up with a plan for myself. For example, that's the example. So let's get back to the videos.
Childhood, my mother, from personal experience, would constantly tell me, don't ever, ever, ever put your life on pause for a man. Like, don't move anywhere for him, don't stay somewhere for him, always put yourself first, right? Guess what I did? The opposite, of course. Whoever listens to their mother. I dated my ex-boyfriend throughout grad school. It was a long distance relationship. He was in the States, I was in Italy, and then when I was in grad school, he promised me that he wanted to marry me. Like, that was his thing. He brought it up. I didn't say anything about it. I was good just like going with the vibes, and all of a sudden he's like, marriage. And I was like, wait, what is going on? Oh, marriage. Okay, cool. So the plan was I would go down to Florida after I graduated. We would try it out for 6 months, then get married. And then a few months in, he was like, oh, no, I can't, we can't get married. Anyway, because of that specific decision, I put on pause a bunch of opportunities I possibly could have had straight out of school, and I ended up derailing my life for like 3 years. But ultimately, the lesson that I should have already learned just by listening to my mother was don't center men. Luckily, I don't have regrets, but I can't say it wasn't a difficult lesson.
When I was dating, I never used to explain myself to men, and I'm going to explain exactly why. Law school taught me so much about dating and life in general. We might just make it a series, but one thing that I learned in law school is someone said something to me that I'll never forget. They said, the time to discuss any issues that you have with your firm are while you're employed and in good standing. If the issues that you have at your firm get so bad that you have to leave, do not use the exit interview to go into why you left. This is excellent advice in my humble opinion, and I'm going to tell you why. She said by the time you get to the exit interview, they have no vested interest in trying to improve on whatever you tell them because you're leaving. And they're not going to see what you're saying as a systemic issue. They're going to see it as a you issue. They're going to tell themselves you're saying this because of issues and weaknesses that you have. They're going to tell themselves that you're just trying to make excuses for why you couldn't crack it in big law. It won't have the intended effect, and you'll really just do nothing but leave a bad taste in the mouth of someone who you're going to need to write you a reference in the future. And I honestly applied this to dating because think about it. By the time you're leaving a relationship, what interest does he have in changing what you've told him? Most guys are going to do what this guy did. He's going to make it about you. He's going to make it about something wrong with you. She was hurt, she was this, she was that, and it's not going to change him. You might as well just say, hey, it's not working out. I wish you all the best, nothing but the best, matter of fact, and keep it moving because I don't even know how to explain what's going on in this dating.
So yeah, ladies, that is all I have for now. And one other thing that I have found that I have to do as a woman who gets highly stressed, highly depressed, highly sad about the way that people treat me, when I'm being neglected, non-fairly, not fairly, or just anything, any way that people may treat you that you don't feel good about. I've learned that I really have to protect my energy because I can come off as a badass or a hard ass or somebody who just doesn't have feelings. And that's literally the complete opposite of who I am. But a lot of people don't want to get to know me because of the way that I do speak. So they don't know that about me, but I know that about myself. So I really do have to put up a wall, even with my kids. Like as far as like protecting my energy, not getting hurt by my kids, but as far as protecting my energy, even with my kids, like if I'm like tired or I'm having a bad day or depressed or sad or anxious and I just want to get home and relax and sit in the tub, and they want me to do something for them or take them somewhere. Well, my 17-year-old is driving now, but I don't do anything last minute for anybody. That's including my kids. Like if I don't feel like it's a dire emergency, I decenter my kids. I really do. Like if it's not something that you just need to do, like me taking you over a friend's house or taking you somewhere that you just want to go, I'll say no. No is my favorite word, and not to be mean, but to protect myself and to decenter everybody else who doesn't know what I'm going through or who doesn't really care. I just find little ways to, basically you have to be selfish, ladies. Like when you're trying to protect your heart because you've been hurt by so many people, whether they know it or not. Most people that hurt you, they don't know it, but some people actually do know that they hurt you and they just don't care because some people are just wicked like that. And I have a really soft heart. And I really want to get close to people. I don't now. I've learned my lesson with that. Trying to get close to a lot of women, I've learned my lesson. So now it's just like, I'm good. Like whether you want to talk to me or not. Like I really don't want to have to decenter women. But a lot of the times when we're making this kind of content and we have the thoughts that we have to learn to detach from women. Even though we desire those relationships with women, we, those of us who do this type of content, we are starting to desire relationships and friendships with women, but that is going to be hard to come by until a lot of women are on the same page. And right now it's just not a lot of women who are on the same page as us. And that's fine with me. So I'm just focusing on myself, ladies. And I suggest you do the same no matter what you have going on in your life. Always take the time to just relax and do the things that make you happy. Because women, a lot of the women that I know are just givers. And most of the time they're giving those things to like their sons or their boyfriends or their husbands or their men. And they're just like so just stressed out and don't even understand why. But you can't just come in and tell them, well, you need to stop doing A, B, and C. They're not going to want to hear you. They're just going to look at you and just assume you hate men because you're telling me to stop doing stuff for men and telling me to do stuff for myself. You know, I hate that for them. I really hate that for them. But all we can do at this point is just sit back and watch. You know, as long as you know in your heart, some of y'all might actually hate men. I know a lot of women do at this point. I'm not one of those women, but I do understand why those women have gotten to this point. So if you hate men, I say try to get that out of you and try to get that out of your heart and just do something else with that energy, because hating anybody is just too much energy. Just start focusing on you wholly and repairing yourself from whatever reasons, whatever made you hate them. Start repairing that. Start making yourself better. Start living and learning. A lot of us are not living, and a lot of us we're living, but we're not learning. We're just going through life and repeating the same cycles over and over and over and over. So you'll accept one thing from a man or even a woman, and then you'll meet the next person and you'll accept the same things over and over instead of learning, okay, this person did this to me, so I'm going to look out for this in this next person. Women have such big hearts. We're always like, no, everybody's not the same. And no, everybody isn't the same. But if you think like me, be prepared for most people to have like a group mentality. If you think and talk like how I talk on this channel, be prepared for anybody that you say anything to think that you're just wicked, weird, just a man hater, just just all of the above. And don't get your feelings hurt. Well, you'll get your feelings hurt. I can't tell you not to get your feelings hurt. Some people will get their feelings hurt, because I did at first, and I'm just now coming out of that. I get my feelings hurt. But anyway, y'all, that's all I had to say. So get down in the box y'all know what I'm talking about, below. And let me know if you've discentered men. It's still early for me. Let me know if you discentered men and how you went about decentering not just men, but if you have in-laws. Have you decentered other people outside of men, like your in-laws that don't too much care for you, or just other women? And what are you doing to uplift and to uplift yourself and protect your peace? I will talk to you ladies later. Bye.
What goes with that?